Good Wednesday evening, everyone. How is everyone? Good? Good day. All right. We're going to continue our study this evening or our discussion on the New Age movement. On page 55 is where we left off in our discussion on Sunday morning. But before we begin, let's go to our God in prayer. Jonathan Brinson, would you do that for us, please? Amen. Okay. Before we get started, Renee and I were talking about classes and teaching and stuff, and she was sharing some thoughts with me and offered me some advice, and so I thought I would share that with you. She said, if the class gets out of hand, just give them a coloring sheet.
Where's my crayons?
Yeah. Okay, so, if you need a coloring sheet, just let me know. I thought that was humorous when she said that. A New Age coloring sheet? Yeah. Something relative to the topic? All right. We're on page 55 there, and we were on the right side of the page there. We had just began to discuss the politics of the New Age movement and how they think in that way as far as politics goes. And we had mentioned that, they feel that the world needs one single government, that the entire world needs to be governed by one single government. And if that could take place, that, of course, everything would be much better as far as, the things that are taking place in the world and their goals, their objectives, to be able to reach those things. Basically, their thought is oneness with everything. Oneness with everything, even your individuality, oneness with everything. And if we go on down here now and we look at part number 2 there, some of the things that are on their political agenda, and some of those things aren't that far from some of the things that would be on our agenda. Some of the things that we would be thinking about. But we have ecological conservation there, nuclear disarmament, relieving overpopulation and starvation, dealing with resource depletion, transcending the masculine and feminine in society. That's probably one that we don't have on our list. Alleviating economic distress by this was pretty unique, by a redistribution of wealth on a global level. We do have some example in the scriptures of wealth being redistributed, don't we, Kyle? So I don't think that they probably took it from the Bible, but they feel like wealth should be redistributed on a level for everyone all over the world. But as you can see, many of those things that's on their political agenda that we have mentioned here anyway would probably be on our political agenda as well. Not really that much different. And they stress that a single world government would be much more effective in dealing with issues, that we have in the world today. And like I said, it would help them to achieve their goals, the things that they desire to make happen in the world today. A single government, of course, it would have to operate under the way they feel that it needs to operate, and they could obviously, be able to make things happen as they desire for them to happen. Anyone got any other thoughts on their political thoughts?
One thing on that, while we might find a lot of things in that is similar to us, those who live under a New Age philosophy will raise those up as that's the tenets of their religion.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we might see, ecological conservation as something that is important but falls beneath God.
Right.
Service to God, being holy before Him. That has become in a part the God that they worship.
Mm-hmm.
This world.
It is, you're right. And as we'll move on here just a little bit, and I'll ask, for your all's help and helping me to completely understand this as well. But it seems to me that they have placed God beneath things of the world. If I'm correct in my thoughts there, but we'll get into that in just a moment. Any other comments or thoughts?
Is this, in some capacity, some form, another level or another stem off maybe of karma or Hinduism?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's got that in it. It's got some Hinduism. It's got some Buddhism in it. They're big believers in karma.
Yeah, I see that.
Big believers in karma. Yeah.
As the last point, from transcending the masculine and feminine in society, I think we're seeing that at the forefront today goes well beyond homosexuality to people not identifying as either sex.
Right.
Where they are gender fluid, and one day I feel like a 4'11" man, and next day I feel like a 7 foot tall lumberjack. It doesn't. We see a lot in the news, unfortunately, and it's creeping into even communities as small as Somerset.
Mm-hmm.
So, unfortunately, this particular group seems to be having an impact
Mm-hmm.
in this area.
And I agree with you with that comment. And the thing is many people are finding themselves involved in the New Age. I'm going to say the criteria that they have out there. Maybe just a part of it. They don't really think that they're there, but they are. But they are unknowingly. They are unknowingly. The impact on the New Age movement on education today, and we can see that they pursue that. They want to get involved in training children. But they recognize that if they're going to be successful, they're going to need to bring about the new age of enlightenment and harmony, and they've got to penetrate the educational institutions of the world to make that happen. So they're starting with children. They're starting with children to make this happen. And so in the public school curriculum and textbooks, they have removed references to Christianity in most all the textbooks that your children would have today in the public school system, but New Age ideas can be found there in these textbooks. And we have one example here of a book called Evidence of Bias in Our Children's Textbooks. And this book documents how Christianity and Christian values have been deleted from the curriculum of the books that children have now. And also says while children's textbooks are void of references to Christianity, many of them teach about Buddhism, Hinduism, Eastern meditation, magic, Indian spirituality, and yoga. Many of all of those things can be found in the textbooks that the children are given today. But they attack it. They go after it. And it says that Marilyn Ferguson says that the New Age educational curriculum includes an emphasis on altered states of consciousness, centering, meditation, relaxation, yoga, and biofeedback. And if you remember, this lesson was introduced to us with a description of children being involved in this in a classroom, and it was a real event that took place in a classroom. Now, most of this stuff that we're seeing here, and I think that we're reading here, there are touches of it around here and in other places. But I think that probably in the western part of the United States, you'll really find a lot of this in that area there. But it says the educational curriculum places an extreme emphasis on personal autonomy. Now this is very interesting, I thought. It says, for example, children are taught to rebel in an appropriate way, Kyle, against the limiting beliefs of their parents. And this is based on the belief that if children are to be free, they've got to be free from even their parents and from the limiting beliefs and laws. So, could you imagine your child being taught to be rebellious to you? Difficult to imagine, isn't it? Difficult to imagine, but these are the things that the New Age is teaching. And, I find that difficult to just comprehend why you would allow your child to be taught to go against the values that you feel needs to be instilled in your child. Of course, many of the values that they have are New Age values. That's why they're allowing their children to receive this teaching. But I just find that very strange. But it says transpersonal education or histolic education. Transpersonal education focuses on that which is beyond the realm of objective reality and is subjective and mystical in nature. And this includes these things. Right brain learning. It says many educators say that the right brain governs human creative and intuitive abilities. So right brain learning techniques include yoga, meditation, chanting, and visualization. And such practices by children are led to have mystical experiences. So they are actually getting the children involved in these things and having them to supposedly develop mystical experiences within their mind, things that they can develop within their mind. And so they're actually, in my opinion, when I read this, and I read over it again earlier this afternoon, it seems to me like they're just I want to say they're brainwashing young children, is what it seems like that they're doing to me. But meditation is being taught to the children in some of those local school districts. And meditating with children made its way into the California school district. And one visualization, Rosman recommends this: meditate and go into the source within. And in that one source, feel that you are one with everyone else's light, intelligence, love, and power. Chant Om softly to fill the whole circle and whole room with your experience of the source within.
To Nathan's question earlier, that's a lot of Hinduism.
It is. It is. And, I was only familiar with the chant Om with Hinduism. I didn't know that it was part of New Age. But, I guess, Kyle, if when you're preaching, if you hear someone start chanting Om, they're in their own world. They're not listening to you. They're not listening to you. So, but this is what is being placed in front of the children out there in that area. And it says centering. This involves certain kinds of relaxation exercises, guided imagery, deep breathing, guided imagery, visualization. These are the things that are taking place whenever that they are centering. And if you remember the things that we talked about, basically, of the New Ager, what is their mentality of oneself? That you are God. That you are God, okay? You are divine. You just need to come to understand that and realize that. You are God. So it's a very self-centered, I want to say, religion. Very self-centered religion. And, they're very much putting the individual first. Putting yourself first. And global education refers to the educating of students to think of themselves as global citizens in keeping with the New Age political agenda. It says the global education includes such ideas as brotherhood of man, religious synchronism, and the need for the one world government. So this is sort of the things that's taking place, and I think you could see, given a generation of children being taught this, how much more do you think that the New Age movement will develop? I think it would develop considerably, especially in the area where this might be taking place. Any other thoughts or comments that someone might have in regards to how they are getting themselves involved in the teaching of children?
And I think anytime that you have a religion that centers on yourself and allows you to be as selfish
Mm-hmm.
or think as highly of yourself as possible, of course that's going to draw the most attention because
Mm-hmm.
servicing one another and sacrificing is,
Mm-hmm.
is against that.
Right, right. And, from the way that they lay things out here and the way things are done, if you become a part of the New Age movement, can you fail? You can't fail. What happens? You're just reincarnated till you get it right. You're just reincarnated till you get it right. You can't fail. So, that's one of the very probably attractive things to people with this. You can't fail. You get involved in this, you can't fail. You just keep getting another chance to continue to get it right.
And also, it stands in stark contrast to the gospel, which very truthfully calls us to see we are sinners. We are in sin. And the message of the New Age movement is you don't like what you are, you can just recreate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have that power.
Right.
You are divine. You don't like the future that is prepared for you. Just think of a new one, and it'll be. And you think about the disenfranchised children, just kids that are coming from broken realities, which our world is filled with. Children that are feeling oppression for their weight, for the fact that they don't look like maybe the other girls or the other boys around them. And you can understand why they desire this,
Mm-hmm.
why they want this, and then to be met after having been taught this, to be met by someone who says you're not perfect, but there is a God who wants to make you perfect. Well, what gives you the right to tell me I'm not perfect?
Mm-hmm.
If I say I'm perfect, I'm perfect.
Right, right. And, and like I said, with that mentality, you can't fail. You can't fail. So it's very, very attractive to people. But it says, as you can see, the New Age movement wants to penetrate every aspect of our lives, total control. This is the basic motto of the New Agers. And they have two distinct expressions of the movement, the occult and the humanistic. But before we get into those, let's take a look at this chart here. It gives us some comparison of the New Age thought and then the thought of Christianity, or what we find in the Bible. For them, God is impersonal, without moral distinction, the life force that underlies nature. Can you help me with that, Kyle?
Well, when you saw in meditation, they were told to meditate and go into the source within, the one source, feel you are one with everyone else's light.
Mm-hmm.
And how you remember the connections that had in Hinduism.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of God that is all things, but is nothing. And the goal of Hinduism was to become a part of that, to have your identity stripped more and more away until you were a part of that one overarching God.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with this idea that is a life force that underlies nature, it sounds like, and it seems to be true. And on next Wednesday, I'm actually be talking on humanism, and some of this might come up again. So, but it seems to be true that there are those out there that believe in a form of deity, a power that transcends man is
Mm-hmm.
probably a better way to say that. There's something bigger than me, but having any relationship with that is not possible. Like having a relationship with 240 volts of electricity is possible.
Right. So they seem to think of God as a form of energy.
Probably that'd be, I think, a fair
Yeah.
But yeah, some form of power maybe
Yeah.
that helped to create or helped to start. But it's very likely that the people in this and also the things that we'll talk about next week will lean more into that is a power that science can explain, not that we need a sacred book to explain.
Hmm. Okay. And of course, we understand our thoughts of God from the Scriptures. God's morally holy. He's the Creator. You know, He's the Creator, John.
So one thing that's kind of confusing to me about this doctrine, this idea, is the idea of kind of unity and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they're obviously trying to eliminate any diversity at all by this
Mm-hmm.
movement. And they're eliminating gender, government, religions, basically anything that could possibly divide each other for the sake of the greater good. But one of the core ideas in this religion is personal autonomy. I'm just wondering how the correlation between personal autonomy and seeking the greater good in the view of God. There's basically no obligation to serve the greater good by establishing this sense of autonomy to each person. So I'm just wondering, like, is there a better explanation, like, for how they view their autonomy instead of the greater good?
We talked Sunday. We found some things that we thought were holes, that just didn't make sense in some of the things they were doing, and to have a good answer for your thought there, I don't know. Kyle might help us.
One thing that the book points out early on is that many people who hold to this philosophy have a notion that your future can be shaped by your own consciousness. So, that mentioned people who die in a plane wreck, it's kind of their fault.
Yeah, on page 55 there on the first half. If you turn over there, John, part number 3 is what Kyle's relating to.
Create their own reality. And so, to your point about how do you go about seeking the greater good, well, you try to get more people to be like you so they can create their own greater good. And in doing that, the world would be creating their own realities. So, because there is no good or evil, that's a fallacy of this belief that morals don't exist. So I can't really have a responsibility towards somebody else's greater good. The only responsibility I might have is to try to help them see how they can make that greater good themselves by unlocking their potential and connecting to that source, which is, really just, it sounds odd to say, but their God power, unlock their God power.
And of course, as Kyle mentioned, they don't see that there's good or there's evil, and if something bad is happening to you, that's just karma. You've apparently done something, maybe not in this life, but a previous life, that has brought this about in your life. And so, if something bad is happening to individuals today, I'm sure, they would probably explain the school shooting that took place yesterday as karma.
But you bring up a great point that when discussing with someone who is of this mindset, what's the point of relieving overpopulation and starvation? That's part of their political agenda.
Yeah.
What's the point of dealing with ecological conservation or nuclear disarmament? Why do that? Why not instead just focus on making everybody like you? And I think that is certainly something you could go to, and when you're having a conversation with somebody like this, try to help them see that there's some errors just in a common sense sort of way. There's some holes that you need to try to explain if you're going to hold to this philosophy. Your worldview is broken if this is what you believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's, if you wanted to do a lot of research, I'm sure you'd find several holes in their beliefs and the things that they believe in. But it says humanity is divine, unconditionally extended from oneness, but are ignorant of true divine nature. So that's their whole thought, is that all humanity is divine, but they are ignorant of it. And once you realize that, once you learn your divinity, you have reached perfection. That's salvation for them. That's what they refer to as salvation. When you reach that point, you've received salvation. You know. And of course, they don't look at salvation as we look at salvation. You know, to them, once an individual, the mortal body has died, apparently the consciousness just continues. Is the mentality that they have. So we feel that, you know, from what we read in the Scriptures, we are made in God's image. We are free agents created by God. We are physical, and we have a soul. Salvation, gaining a new perspective in which mankind sees the interconnectedness of all things, including ourselves, with divine oneness. We understand salvation to be faith, to be obedience in Christ. And although grace and forgiveness of sins is, you know, we receive that by being baptized. Life after death is spiritual progression for the purpose of attaining enlightenment. Reincarnation, they believe in that, and it's based upon karma. We understand we have eternity either in heaven or hell. Any thoughts on those things?
So if I'm reading this right, their goal is to connect with their divine oneness.
Right. Right.
Which is similar to our desire to want to connect with our Lord.
Right.
But they just don't want to be held accountable for any action.
Right. Right.
Just like do whatever we have to do, whatever we have to do.
Right. Till you reach that point.
And then, so they kind of just twisted their own version of heaven. Is that what it sounds like? Like they just twisted it to fit their own selfish.
I don't know if they have twisted heaven.
Well, I mean, it's just that eternity with
Yeah.
God.
Right. Right.
What we're aiming for.
I don't think that they look at, you know, they're aiming for eternity, like we are aiming for eternity. Our eternity is in heaven with all the other saints, but their eternity is more of a oneness and enlightenment. But I don't think heaven is any part of it.
It has more to do with that life force
Yeah.
that you saw at the beginning of that list.
Right, like a new name for it, but
Yeah.
still a place in eternity with others
It
that you think combined.
It seems like they've combined a lot. Like they've taken this aspect from Christianity and this from Hinduism
Mm-hmm.
and just cobbled this together to come up with a new religion.
And the thing about the New Age is that it has so many different directions that it goes, so many different things that it has brought in, as Kyle says, and sort of mingled together, that, as it's stated here, it's seeking control of the world. And it seems like they've just brought in every aspect of anything they can that can reach somebody. You know, I mean, there's nobody that can't be reached in some way. You know, nobody that can't be reached in some way with this doctrine that they have here. Mm-hmm.
It's like high level, it's kind of a little off topic, but like whenever when people say someone they say, oh, I'm down this right halfway, I don't see a situation where they say, oh, I'm new age, or like I'm a new ager.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's the slang for someone? Like what might be that they go like non-denominational? Like what's the short term we're looking for?
Well, one thing that this pointed out was that this was more of a philosophy than a religion.
Mm.
So it probably, they wouldn't introduce themselves as anything other than possibly I'm free from this moral construct of religion, ascending beyond that.
I'm wondering, is this a case where you would hold these beliefs and not even know that you're falling under this
I think so.
category?
I think so, definitely.
I would imagine that no two new ages would be alike, because there's so much in here that you
Right.
they could be really pro some of it, not pro some of it, but they still technically fall
Right.
under this umbrella.
A portion of it. portion of it. Absolutely. And I think that's what we have, out there in our society today. We have just a lot of individuals or groups out there that have some new age in what they're doing. They wouldn't tell you that they do, but they do. They're there unknowingly. And I'm going to share with you one here as we talk about the occult side of the New Age. And they practice, they believe in reincarnation, crystal power, channeling spirit guides, UFO phenomenon, the worshiping of self-expression of the New Age attracts those that are interested in the latest fad, so to speak. And for that reason, it's often dismissed as being something that is trivial. And that's how I thought about this until I actually read this material. I always thought I'd heard of the New Age movement, but any time that anyone talked about it, I just dismissed it as something that was just silly, But after reading this, I see that it's something that people take very seriously. But it says, while the practice of New Age fads, the use of crystals, sitting under a pyramid, they may decrease. The occult New Age is not trivial, and it's left behind a trail of spiritual death. And it continues to endure because it has a great number of participants. And I'm going to share with you one example of the occult side here. And I was speaking with Kyle about this on Sunday. I remember this because I did an invitation on this several years ago. There was a group that was called the Heaven's Gate. Do any of you remember that? Okay. I want to tell you about the Heaven's Gate. Says, scholars have described the theology of Heaven's Gate as a mixture of Christian millenarianism. Did I say that right?
I would say yes.
Okay, thank you. New Age and Ufology. Okay. And it says, as such, has been characterized as a UFO religion. These people worship the comet Hale-Bopp. They worship the comet Hale-Bopp, and as I read here, you'll see why. The center belief of the group was that followers could transform themselves into immortal extraterrestrial beings by rejecting their human nature. They would ascend to heaven, referred to as the next level or the next evolutionary level above human. They believed that they would ascend to heaven and live aboard this UFO that was orbiting around Hale-Bopp, is what they thought. They believed that the body was merely a container or a vehicle for their soul, and that their consciousness would be transferred to the new next level body that was up there in the spaceship. So, I'm not much on astrology or whatever, but Hale-Bopp only gets so close to Earth ever so often, and it's many, 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 many years before it reaches that point, okay? And so they were waiting for Hale-Bopp to get to the closest point of Earth, at which time they would transfer themselves to it. So on March 26, 1997, deputies of the San Diego County Sheriff's Department discovered the bodies of 39 active members of the group, including that of their leader, in a house in the San Diego suburb of Rancho Santa Fe. They had participated in a mass suicide and coordinated a series of ritual suicides, coinciding with the closest approach of the comet Hale-Bopp. Just before the mass suicide, the group's website was updated with this message: Hale-Bopp brings closure to Heaven's Gate. Our 22 years of classroom here on the planet Earth is finally coming to conclusion. Graduation from the human evolutionary level. We are happily prepared to leave this world and go with Ty's crew. So that's what these people did. And this is, as Michael mentioned, these people had some new age in what they were doing here. So as our book stated here, it's left a path of death. You know, it has left a path of death. But as strange as that sound, that did take place. That really took place, and that's what these individuals were doing, worshiping the comet Hale-Bopp. Okay, the humanistic view. The expression of developing unlimited human potential and ethical systems centered in the responsibility only to oneself. The New Age movement has been around ever since Satan convinced Adam and Eve that they would be like God if they would eat that fruit. So, you know, pretty good stuff there as far as that goes, to understand that. Because it is attractive to sinful human nature, and because, and this is important, this is very attractive to sinful human nature, and it's very subtle, very deceptive. The New Age movement has become a major challenge to Christianity in our time. Both the occult and the humanistic expressions of the New Age movement see themselves as offering salvation to humanity. Any thoughts on that before we start talking about some of the major beliefs that they have? Okay, looking at how they think about God. The goal of the variety of the New Age methods and beliefs is to come to the realization of the central truth of the New Age, which is that everything fundamentally divine, because everything flows from divine oneness that is existential substance and essential reality that is beneath all things. Now, this is where I'm still somewhat confused about how they think of God. They think of God as being beneath all things. Is that what I'm reading here? It says, when he speaks of God, he or she is not referring to the biblical concept of God as a personal or a holy being who has existed before all things and is separate from all things. Instead, two key words describe the New Age movement's concept of God: monism and pantheism. Monism is a belief that God is one in the sense of being a oneness without duality or differentiation. There is no separation within God. It is beyond all such distinctions, including distinctions between persons, between good and evil. The New Age movement characterizes this oneness as a force or energy. Contrary to naturalism, which says that matter or physical energy is all there is, the ultimate reality of the New Age is not a lifeless energy, but a cosmic mind or consciousness, often called or referred to as the universal self. So it appears that with this thought here, to them, God is a force or energy that they can take from. Is that correct?
Or tap into.
Tap into?
And that's, again, that's their, seems like that's the major goal for leaning into this. And again, to your point, you know, many different flavors of ice cream, and many different flavors of New Ageism as well. There are likely those who also hold to many of these truths, except for don't believe in any form of power outside of science. So you might find someone who, again, doesn't say, well, I'm a New Ageist, but holds to a lot of these. And if you go and say, well, so you believe in the one universal, you know, source, they might say, no,
Mm-hmm.
I believe in the Big Bang. Everything just kind of emanated out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably find a lot of different characteristics in that. But those who do believe in a God have a very Hinduistic view of God. It's this one thing that you can be a part of, you can draw power from, and your ultimate goal is to try to join and become united with.
Okay. Michael?
It's also hard for me because this is so closely associated with what I know as the Democratic political party. So you have a lot of people who hold these political views who are atheists, and it's so hard to make sense of what to call New Age and what to just call a political stance.
Mm-hmm.
But religion is just a set of shared beliefs, so I guess that's how this falls under a world religion, but it's so hard. Whereas some of the others is there's a set list of things that
It is. It is.
I think it goes back to probably some of the different flavors of this new age religion and the importance of us asking questions of these people when we encounter them to get a sense of where they stand so that we can be prepared with the proper response. Whether you have a more atheistic sort of New Ager or someone who believes in this one this one sense of being.
Mhm. Well, and that's the second part, the pantheism that we was about to get to, which is what the book is really focused more on, as we have been talking about, is the oneness and all is divine, and that concept that they have there. But I was, when speaking to Kyle Sunday, I told him that this appeared to me to be atheism with a twist. You know, I mean, this is how I would refer to this. Any other thoughts or comments?
Jeff, you were saying earlier that this was one of those that when you first kind of hear it, it didn't really maybe sink in and
Mhm.
say, man, I should be worried about this. But the more we talk about it, the more it just seems like this is kind of like the quote unquote religion that satisfies everything.
Everything and
It gives
anyone.
people an option to be a part of something if they want to be a part of something. It also gives them the option to choose what they want to believe if they're a part of that
Mm-hmm.
something. And this is what's growing around us, though, when we see episodes of my body, my choice kind of stuff.
Right.
They can be in this, or the person that's not my body, they can be in this. It's just it's almost like a catch-all.
Right.
Yeah, it's very abstract, and it actually scares me a lot now.
Right.
It's the thing. It's what's growing around us, and it's accepting everything and everybody.
Right.
And it's saying you are accepting this because we're okay.
Mm-hmm. And you know, as we've mentioned many times, there is something here for everybody. There's something here for everybody, or something that can be attractive to anybody and everybody.
And it doesn't seem like they're having to answer to anything.
No. There's, like I said, there's no morality here. There's no good. There's no evil. There's just karma for how you have lived your life. You know, and that, like I said, that might not be this current life. That could have been a previous life. You know, and you could be receiving karma today as a result of that. Anything else? Okay, looking here at humanity, it says this is one of the seductive claims of the New Age movement, that we're not only perfect, but we are in fact gods. And this is some very, very strong thoughts here. Philosopher New Age precursor L.L. White is forthright. It has long been held that whoever denies the transcendent God asserts his own divinity. In dropping God, man recovers himself. It is time that God be put in his place. That is, in man, and no nonsense about it. That's a strong thought to express. Yeah, it just hurts. It just hurts to read that. But you know, this is some of the heart of the concept that we have here. You know, it's time you put God in his place and realize that you're God. You're your God. You're divine. You know, and that's the thought that we have here. And you can imagine if someone can take this thought and run with it, how confident it would make them feel in themselves. You know, how confident that they would feel in themselves. You know, total confidence, nothing wrong. You know, nothing wrong. I can't fail. Okay, sorry we didn't get this completed. I'll leave the tips on teaching the New Agers up to you. You can read that and study that for yourself. Thank you very much.